In Amon Amarth's latest music video for Heidrun, the band is depicted in Valhalla. However, would Amon Amarth actually go to Valhalla, or would they actually go to hell? Let's watch the music video and I'll break down the mythology. Welcome, metalheads. I'm the host of Heavy Metal Philosophy and writer for Metal Digest, John Barbas. Make sure you stick around to the end of the episode for this week's riff of the week. In the Heidrun video, Amon Amarth depicts themselves in Valhalla, but I have a couple of issues with that. My first issue is that in the video, the band dies in a freak stage accident, not in battle.
Amon Amarth, a Swedish death metal band, has been involved in an explosion accident, and according to reports, none of the band members are among the survivors.
Valhalla is reserved exclusively for warriors that are slain in battle. Now, that being said, Amon Amarth typically and often equates going on tour with doing battle. They oftentimes call their tours raids, and that makes a lot of sense because they're traveling the world in search of riches and glory. But even with that being said, the freak stage accident happens in a rehearsal, not at an actual concert.
Rumor says that the explosion was caused during rehearsals for their upcoming tour.
And you might think that's pedantic, but I also have a couple of other issues that might mean Amon Amarth are not going to Valhalla. But first, let me just do a couple of disclaimers and then we'll analyze the music video. I think Amon Amarth is going to hell. Now let me be very clear. I do not mean the Christian hell, I mean the Norse Hel, also known as Helheim. I'm not saying that Amon Amarth are damned and they're going to be punished for eternity. Hell is the place in Norse mythology where a majority of people go because that's where everyone that dies of natural causes goes. Only people that are slain in battle go to Valhalla. Similarly, Vikings that die at sea, they don't go to Valhalla, they don't go to hell, they go to Ran. There's a very different way that the Vikings thought about the afterlife, and it's very important not to equate the Christian hell with two L's, H-E-L-L, with the Norse Hel, H-E-L, also known as Helheim. Norse Hel is not where bad people go. Now, there is a place near or possibly inside of Helheim called Nastrund. That's where bad people go. That's where murderers and oath breakers go. But everybody else goes to hell, and that's not a bad thing. That's not a punishment. This is evidenced by the fact that Balder, one of the most beloved gods who died thanks to a prank from Loki, went to hell. Again, only warriors that are slain in battle go to Valhalla. And lastly, before we analyze the video, my final disclaimer. I am not a Norse mythology expert. Now, with that being said, even the experts have a lot of different interpretations of the lore, and that's because the lore comes from two primary sources. There's the Poetic Edda and the Prose Edda. And the Prose Edda was written by a guy named Snorri, who was a Christian historian in the 1200s, writing about poems that were written many hundreds of years prior to his era. Disclaimers out of the way. Now let's look at the video. After the introductory news segment of the video that announces the band's death, we then cut to a scene with lead singer Johan Hegg approaching these gates of light. Those gates are most likely Valgrind. Valgrind are the gates that you go through before you enter into Valhalla. So the band clearly thinks that they are going to Valhalla. We then see Johan's arrival being celebrated by the boys. But don't worry, the rest of the band will join the festivities later in the video. Now, it is accurate that all of the celebration and feasting and merrymaking is happening at night because in Valhalla, during the daytime, everybody in Valhalla, all the warriors, they do battle against one another and they kill each other. And then they're resurrected at night, and that's when they feast and drink mead. So it's not a party the whole time. Mostly they're fighting. Then at the end, the depiction of the video at night, that's when they celebrate and drink mead. So that's totally accurate. And this is where the fun stuff begins. Lots of different depictions of Norse mythology has infinite or eternal battles, but this is where we see a lot that Amon Amarth is talking about Valhalla. This is the point in the video where we see Johann climbing up and beholding Heidrun. Heidrun is a goat that stands atop the halls in Valhalla and gnaws on the Lerad tree, which could also conceivably be Yggdrasil, the world tree. The sustenance that the goat gets from gnawing on this tree makes mead come out of its udders, and therefore the warriors in Valhalla get an infinite amount of mead to drink every night in the afterlife. Now, what's left out of the song and the video, which I imagine is because the song is about the goat and we don't want to confuse the message, but there's also a boar in Valhalla called Sehrimnir, and this boar regenerates every night, so the warriors also have infinite food upon which to feast every night. And this is the part where I think it's really easy for modern society to confuse Viking Valhalla with Christian heaven. Valhalla is not meant as a reward for good people. In fact, I imagine there's probably a lot of bad people in Valhalla because the prerequisite to get in is merely to be slain in battle. In fact, Valhalla serves a very specific purpose, and it's not to reward good deeds, it's as a preparation ground for the final battle, Ragnarok. That's why in Valhalla they fight every day and feast and drink mead every night. They're preparing for the Norse apocalypse, the twilight of the gods, where Odin will be killed by the wolf Fenrir. Odin's not necessarily rewarding people for good deeds in Valhalla. He is putting together his final army. And that picking of the army is my final issue with Amon Amarth claiming that they're going to Valhalla. Even if I were to grant Amon Amarth the exception of not being slain in battle, Odin only gets half of the warriors that die at war. The goddess Freya gets the other half. In fact, Freya gets first pick of these warriors and takes them to Folkvagnar, which is kind of like the field of soldiers, a meadow for soldiers. Odin gets the leftovers. So therefore, with that 50-50 split, it is statistically unlikely that all 5 members of Amon Amarth would wind up in Valhalla together. Now here might be, no it is, this is the most important point in the episode. This analysis is just for fun. This is just a fun metal song. Inevitably, anytime I do one of these informal, definitely less than academic quality analysis of a metal song or band, somebody will always comment and say, "It's not that serious, dude." Of course, I'm not being serious either. This was fun for me. It's fun for me to compare the lyrics of the song and the contents of the video to the mythology. It's not meant to be a critique of the band. I'm sure that the Viking band, Amon Amarth, knows way more about Norse mythology than I ever will. And I understand that they have to take creative liberties to do the entertainment. The song is less than 5 minutes long. The video is about 6 minutes, and they're telling a basic story. I get that. This is just providing some extra nuance, some complimentary commentary. And hopefully you learned a little something, and it just adds a little extra nuance. That's it. And I'm sure as a non-expert, there's some nuance that I missed. So here's the opportunity for you to educate me in the comments. Tell me what I missed or what you would add. What's your favorite Norse mythology? And most importantly, what did you think of the new Amon Amarth EP, Heidrun? In particular, I really want to know how y'all like that remix they did with the goat on vocals. And I think it's obvious what the riff of the week is going to be. And if you like philosophical analysis of metal songs and the bands that make them, you're in the right place. And if you want to catch another similar episode of Heavy Metal Philosophy and you're on YouTube, just click right here. If you're listening audio only, links in the description. But most importantly, read philosophy, listen to metal. I love you.
Who's gold, hey.